do you think Piers is so offensive?
Well, I think the way that Piers talks about trans people, and specifically non-binary people, is that you mock them, you make fun of them, you use them as entertainment, you use the lives of real people in this country, a vulnerable minority, as something to make fun of and get a reaction. And I don't think that's the quality journalism that you do elsewhere.
Well, be specific.
Well, when you claim that you're a two-spirit penguin...
Yeah, but you know why I did that?
Go on.
Because you and I had this debate about the 100 genders. And
yeah.
I made the point, if literally you can now identify in 100 different ways your gender, including two-spirit person and all this other stuff, then I'm entitled to identify as a two-spirit penguin. In other words, there are no limits. And what's interesting is, you want me to respect all those 100 genders, however ludicrous some of them are, but you have zero respect for my right to identify myself in any way I see fit. So, in other words, it's one rule for you. You say everyone's entitled to say they can be whatever they want. But the moment I decide that I want to be a two-spirit penguin, you go absolutely nuts and want to control how I self-identify.
That's not how it works.
That is the point I'm making. That is not transphobic. That is exposing a flaw in your position.
It isn't, because being a penguin isn't a gender. That's not on the gender spectrum.
No, but Benjamin, can't you see how he's taking it to the absurd degree?
It doesn't matter how many times you pretend to be Pingu Morgan. That's still not a gender that people can identify with. But what we know is that there will be people watching this programme this morning who might be vulnerable, who might be unsure, that are trans, that are non-binary, and it can do real damage. When I was growing up, I watched GMTV religiously, and I was gay and unsure about my sexuality. And I fear that if that had been mocked constantly on breakfast telly,
there
that
are
would have damaged me.
but on that point, there are a few people who have been louder and prouder about promoting gay rights on television than I have relentlessly on this programme. To zero credit for people like you, right?
I mean, I don't think not hating gay people is a great achievement.
Nobody has been louder and prouder in promoting trans rights, right? And India will confirm that, because she's seen it and she's responded to it and come on and debated it with me. So when you call me racist, homophobic, sexist... No, but I've seen all the stuff on Twitter in the last 2 days, right? This debate about me. Apparently I'm racist, I'm transphobic, I'm bigoted, I'm homophobic. It's all baloney. It's actually baloney. What I think should be happening is this whole gender debate, to me, has got completely out of control.
Absolutely.
And the reason I feel so incensed, and I'll come to India in a moment, the reason I feel incensed about this 100 gender thing, imagine being India Willoughby, who's gone through transitioning, which is an extraordinarily difficult, emotional, psychological and physical process, lasting a long period of time. And then when you finally get to transition to be a woman, right? Having wanted to be that your whole life, then you get told, actually, it's meaningless because there are now 100 ways to identify gender.
Well, let's hear from India.
Yeah, I think Piers is a beacon of light, and most trans people, and I'm actually going to use the word transitioners here, because transgender now has become something completely different. Transgender now is about floating about in the middle, no commitment, you pick and choose who you want to be. And with the greatest respect, I don't need any gay people coming in to represent me, because I'm trans. It's not the same as being gay. And if you're saying that, you know, this is making a mockery of gender, well, what's your views on drag? I find drag far more offensive than anything that Piers says.
Drag isn't a gender.
Gay, no, but drag is gay men dressing up as women in a flamboyant way, exaggerated mannerisms.
Drag is a beautiful art.
No, it's not a beautiful art.
Do you not accept? It is. That's a ridiculous comment. Do you not accept, though, that you identify as you're a trans woman?
No, I no longer. Do you know what? I no longer identify as trans because it's become so embarrassing because of people like you and what you champion.
Oh, India.
I'm ashamed of it.
You must
awful.
Accept. There are bigoted people in this country.
I don't accept there are 100
genders.
There
are bigoted people in this country
not.
who don't recognise your identity. Why is it OK when you recognise that is unacceptable and bigoted for you to turn to non-binary people and say you don't recognise their identity? Isn't that a race to the bottom?
How can non-binary be transgender? What exactly are you transitioning?
Well, it's under the umbrella
You don't even believe in gender. So how can you be transgender? It's made a mockery of the whole...
I totally agree.
The whole
I totally agree.
You don't need to be a world gender expert. You just need to be compassionate.
I've heard lots of... Yeah, but you're not compassionate, are you?
I am. We couldn't be compassionate.
It's this hard line. They are so
I have
intolerant.
rarely been subjected to more foul abuse on social media than I have in the last few days since this campaign started against me. There is an aspect of, I'm afraid, your lobby group, for want of a better word, the gender lobby group, which is highly abusive. It wants everybody that they don't agree with to be fired, cancelled, destroyed, and everything else. And I say, what is wrong with debate? You and I came on and we debated it on here, right?
Yeah.
I actually learned a bit from you. And perhaps you learned a bit from me, and maybe you didn't. But your response to a good-natured debate on that is to now come back on and demand I get fired because you only want people sitting here that you agree with. And I say that most people, and I say this with respect to you, most people think the concept of 100 genders is utter nonsense. And if it takes me to say on television, get away from this ridiculous control freakery stuff that no one's allowed to challenge it, if it's to me that says that, I'm going to say it. And you're not going to stop me, and you're not going to get me fired.
And what exactly is your expertise on gender? Have you got any gender issues?
I'm a cisgendered male, and I feel happy to be comfortable in that.
Benjamin, you'll have to explain what cisgender is, because it's not a wide, horrible language.
I was born as a man, and I identify
You're a
as
male.
a man.
You're a man.
But the
Just a
truth
man, you don't need cis.
Piers, when you think you're under attack, imagine being someone who has been criticised by their friends, by their family, by their school, by parts of the media from the day they were born.
I would much rather live in peace.
There's a school near.
It's more interesting. It's got humour.
There's a school where I grew up, near where I grew up, in Brighton, right? About 5 miles from where I grew up. There are now 85 kids identifying as gender fluid, non-binary. It is nonsense.
It's confusing people.
It's confusing everybody. You've got kids watching this programme now, hearing you say there are 100 ways to identify your gender. Not male and female. There are 100 ways to... You could be a two-spirit person. There are 100 ways to
be compassionate. And do you know what...
It's not compassionate. Do you know what utterly confusing.
Do you know what would be better?
Dangerous.
Do you know what would be better than you being fired? Because actually, I'm not intensely keen on this cancelled culture. What would be better...
You signed the petition to have me fired.
I did, because you don't seem to want to learn. But what would be better
is
if you wanted to learn...
I don't want to learn how you think.
I
don't want to think how you think is what you mean. You want to fire me because you want me to think how you think.
People on Twitter
and my
do
problem
as well.
about liberals today is they've become so illiberal. They're only interested in making other people agree with them and think like them. And if they don't, they no-platform them, they ban them, they cancel them, they sign petitions to get people fired, and it is utter nonsense.
Do you ever think you go too far?
Benjamin.
Do you ever regret some of the comments?
Sometimes, yeah.
But you must recognise that. And that's
but
about
not on
being
gender.
better.
Not on gender. And the reason I identified as a two-spirit penguin was actually not, as you think, to make a cheap mockery of people that transition. I completely support all transgender people who transition. I don't support this 100 gender nonsense because I think it trivialises and demeans and makes a mockery of what people like India have
And
to go
most
through.
people who have transitioned are on Piers' side.
So when I get called transphobic, I'm not transphobic. And I resent you using that phrase. I'm somebody that's challenging this ridiculous notion that there are now 100 genders. That is dangerous and delusional.
Benjamin, can I just... I think the 100 gender thing has thrown everybody. Surely, some people... I totally understand and sympathise with people who have an issue with gender stereotyping. But 100? 100 ways to define yourself?
But what this is an umbrella term of non-binary people, people who don't consider themselves male or female. And these are the terms we have for them to identify.
OK, but 100?
Well, I mean, those are the different terms that people have accepted to describe different ones.
How many can you name?
Well, we're not going to go into that because you don't need to be a world gender expert. You just need to be compassionate, Piers.
No.
And
no.
Please.
Your idea of compassionate and mine are two different things.
Yes.
I've seen the compassion shown to me in the last week. It's zero. It's just abuse, right? And what you actually want, you want people to be able to identify as anything they want, right to the point that someone like me goes, OK, in that case, I want to be a two-spirit penguin. Then you go nuts.
Because that's not a gender.
Right,
and that's
but I've
not
decided
difficult
it is, and
to
I want
work
to respect.
out.
I want to respect the fact that I'm allowed to be that. But because you want everyone to be whatever they want to be.
And you call people like me snowflakes and say that we're weak-willed. There's nothing harder than having the guts to be yourself.
What are you talking about? Be yourself. You're not trans. You're not transgender.
Here's what you should be. You should
I'm
be.
here.
We're all ourselves in our
You have
different
a
ways.
real
You get upset about the
transgender
inside of
person
a
here.
sausage
I get
roll.
upset about
You
I was about to say.
Piers is
I can
right,
get enraged.
and that my life is more miserable because of what you're saying.
And
I'm
Benjamin,
an
here's the
actual
point.
trans person.
I can get enraged about all sorts of things. I wake up in the morning simmering, right? I read about vegan sausage rolls. I want to go nuts. I read
Piers
about
will have an argument in an
cricket
empty
balls
room,
now being made of
remember.
vegan
Passion.
I don't
right?
believe that.
It's on. However, what I don't do is I don't tell people that don't agree with me, you have to be fired or cancelled or deplatformed. I debate with them. I don't like a lot of stuff, but I'm happy to have a debate. When you and I debated 100 genders, I went away and thought, interesting debate. Now you're here to debate me getting fired because you don't like the fact I don't agree with you.
But do you not accept it can damage people?
No, you're damaging people.
You're damaging. I'm telling you, you have
damaging
damaged.
India.
Your ideology has actually damaged my career over the last 3 years
number of
because
trans
you've
people disagree
turned
with
the
you,
whole
India.
thing into a joke. I've lost work because of what it's become. People don't want to get involved with transgender people.
That's because
it's
you're
all
not
argumentative.
You're not
listening.
You don't want to hear me.
Well, I don't accept,
real life
I don't
experience.
accept that you give in to people who have bigoted views.
No,
Bigoted?
It's
What
a
is bigoted
joke.
about questioning
all the people
the merit
out there
of 100
today,
genders? What's bigoted about that?
Say that again, sorry.
Everyone who thinks 100 genders is nonsense is bigoted.
Well, the problem is...
Is that your position?
I think a great many of them have broader bigotries which lead
I
to
ask
that
you a question.
position.
If you
But
think that
why
is
are you so
nonsense-
offended or stressed out by people that you
Mate,
may
you're
well
the
never
one,
meet?
because you're the
stressed.
one signing a petition to have me fired. You want to
What is
cancel
so
my
difficult
livelihood.
about letting people
and you
live
have the
their
gall to sit
lives?
here and talk about, why are you so offended? Let me
Okay.
tell you why I'm so offended.
Piers, I don't talk like that.
No, but
Well,
he'll do that
all
with
right,
everybody.
I do, right? But my point is this. If you're going to sit here and talk about offence, what about the offence you cause? Seriously.
but
what about the offence you cause to
It's
India?
not offensive to say people can live and be the people that they were born to be. And when you mock people like Sam Smith, that causes
hold on
damage
a sec,
to
hold on.
non-binary
Here's
people
what,
that are vulnerable.
here's what I said about Sam Smith. 2 years ago, he comes out as a gay man. We all cover that, right? It's a big moment. He talks about it. We all cover it. And within 2 years, he's abandoned that position and now says now he's not sure if he's male or female, right? So he's a singer. He's won Best Male category awards for many years, right? What is he now going to enter? We now hear the Brit... Wait a minute. We now hear the Brit Awards has to go awards neutral, almost certainly as a result of Sam Smith. So because of one guy who now says, I can't decide if I'm male or female, we no longer have Best Male or Female categories. You know who will suffer in that? Women. Women will suffer. They will win less awards. So actually, these are interesting issues.
You know,
and I should be able to challenge you and to debate it.
We're definitely challenging.
Women's sport is a massive issue.
What about my identity? It took me half a lifetime to become who I am today. I don't want to live in a neutral world, with the greatest respect.
You don't have to. You can be yourself vividly.
But I do, because you're going around, you're zapping toilets are becoming gender neutral. Everything's becoming gender neutral.
Do you agree, for example, that there is a serious issue about transgender people born to male bodies who transition to women, taking part in female sport and breaking all the records and basically making women born to women bodies, female bodies, actually they can't compete? Is that fair?
Trans women are women.
Oh, they're not.
They are.
Not
And the only thing I would
today's
say-
definition.
the only thing I would
You have
say-
no
They
problem.
are
You have no
not.
problem
I'm
with, for
sorry.
example, a 6'5" person born to a male body who's a sprinter, as is happening in America right now. In Connecticut, the women's records have been annihilated by two very tall, very strong people who transitioned from male to female in their teens, now breaking all female
I
records.
won't play into the demonisation of trans people. Do you know,
Is it
one thing I
Trans
accept-
people don't
hang on.
transition
Benjamin, here's my
anymore.
question.
That's the
Is it-
problem.
Benjamin,
They
here's my
don't
question. Is
transition.
it fair to women?
Is it fair to women? Do you know, I absolutely accept that if we have gender-neutral awards, that there is a real danger living in a misogynistic culture that will mean fewer women are recognised. I totally
So women
agree
now
with
get
that.
punished. So women now get punished at award ceremony.
Okay.
What about sport?
What about sport?
Do you think there's any unfairness to
I mean,
female?
it depends on the different sport, frankly.
Okay.
I
Female
hardly
sports
think a
people-
trans woman golfer is going to struggle from this.
Okay, I feel like we've now gone into a different area of
Well,
the
it's all
debate.
part of the